biohacking? It feels like you're cheating the system. What do you understand the biohacking?
All it is just triggering elements of your biology that are just waiting to help you repair and help you optimize your life. I was a fat boy that couldn't get out of bed, so I had to do something.
I have chased good to great all the time to become a better version of myself. I had an operation about 3 months ago. So I was like, I'm going to be out of action here for about 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm going to try a few of these things that Sean's talking about. And it all started with a simple shot.
I see people chasing the latest biohack all the time, injecting peptides, sleeping in hyperbaric chambers, trying rapamycin, cold plunges, and yet refusing to sleep 7 hours, refusing to pick up anything heavy, and still eating ultra-processed diets. The truth is, the boring, unsexy stuff really, really works. And at More Good Days, that's what we want to unpack. We want to kind of take the hype out of the picture, replace it with science, and then translate that science into practical things we could do every single day. Because the cheat code, guys, is largely free. And it was his idea. Sean, give us the backstory. What's the origin story to this?
Well, Mike, I was a fat boy that couldn't get out of bed, so I had to do something. Yeah, I was given the greatest opportunity. After our house burnt down, I was able to take our family on a sabbatical to rebuild, recoup, have some life's adventures. And along the way, although we were having amazing family time, towards the end of it, I literally couldn't get out of bed and I wasn't able to enjoy to its max, like life. I had everything that the world tells you that you need and that you want, and it was at my fingertips. But without the health, I couldn't live. I couldn't enjoy it. So in desperation, I started looking around, and it was one tiny little 20-second video of somebody talking about putting salt in water, and that just ignited this passion to just investigate this whole new biohacking longevity world and just get to grips with it and give it a go. And from that first moment that I tried that, something changed and it worked. And then I thought, wow, there's hope here. I can do something. I can improve myself. And then, 10 months, 11 months later, I've gone down every single rabbit hole. We've tried every single device, supplement, and now we want to share what works. And I roped in my good friend Faf a few months ago, and he likes to go down deep rabbit holes as well. So we're a good company. And we just want to bring what we think works.
Faf, is it just me, or did Sean kind of roll over my house burned down and just
Yeah.
moved on? And I'd love to know more about that,
Sure.
or maybe for another episode.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word biohacking. Like, I don't know about biohacking. It feels like you're cheating the system, like you're shortcutting on it. That's not what you do. I mean, what do you understand the biohacking?
I don't understand it. So I would love to just listen to this rest of this episode
Yeah.
for him to explain it to me.
Well, I blame you, Mark. You're the first person to ever call me a biohacker, so it's actually your fault. But I know, like, people don't like the word hack because it's like hacking computers and taking all it is just triggering elements of your biology that are just waiting to help you repair and help you optimize your life. And most people don't trigger it. We've been designed with the most amazing systems to detox, to rise up in energy, and there's just simple things that are out there that you can do, and most people don't know what that is. So yes, it is a bit of the hack, which is the modern term, but all it is just activating parts of your body that were designed for a certain purpose, and we can do it in relatively simple ways. We don't need millions of rands worth of equipment. There are elements that you can use in everyday life to get as much of that value out as possible without spending the big money, and we've done them all.
Hey, if you're watching this, you're probably looking at Faf going, he doesn't need anything. He's the perfect human specimen. And here you are talking about, improving your health. Faf, tell me more. What are you doing?
Well, what I would say is that what I like about Sean is Sean speaks like a very intellectual language, but he does put things in a very practical way. I have known Sean for a long time, and I saw this transformation that he's talking about, and left and then came back as this different person. I mean, 30 kilograms is no small feat. So I have been part of it and listening, but even to the point when, as me as a professional and an elite athlete, my whole life, I have chased from going from good to great all the time. I'm almost always looking for the 1, 5, 10% to become a better version of myself, whether it's health, fitness, longevity. And I think that's where we came together as I started speaking to him about his transformation. And I was like, I'm actually going to try a few of these things because you make it sound very simple.
Mm.
And I had an operation about 3 months ago where they did a bit of panel beating on my body, which naturally happens when you're a sportsman. And I said to Sean, what I want to do is I want to make sure that in the first months, because I couldn't walk on my leg or do any upper body stuff with my tennis elbow. So I was like, I'm going to be out of action here for about 3 to 4 weeks. So I'm going to try a few of these things that Sean's talking about. And it all started with a simple shot.
Wow, like a shot or a shot or a or a shot. I mean, you got to be a little more specific.
Not
Stay
that
tuned,
one.
stay tuned.
Stay
Stay
tuned. But
tuned.
what I want to say is I'm very honored to sit not only the best looking doctor in South Africa, but also he's got a remarkable voice. So every time he speaks, have you
Yes.
noticed the angelic
Perfect for radio.
that this is coming from us next day?
For radio.
I'm just going to spend a bit more time with you because I want a bit more of that deep voice.
Yeah, forgive the
Love it.
bromance, guys. It's,
Yeah,
this is but listen, let's talk about that shot. I love the idea. And you started with the shot. You
Yeah.
talked about this 20-second video. Was that the shot that Faf's referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've evolved it since then, but in its simplest form, it's about adding an unprocessed salt to your morning water, because everybody thinks that your body is 60% water. We always hear that, but it's more like 60% salt water or saline. It's closer to that in its chemical construction. So when you actually just drink water without minerals, we all think we're hydrating, but if there's no minerals in the water, the minerals in your body go into that water and out. So you're actually almost demineralizing your body, which is the opposite of what you think. So the simple way to just change that is you just put a quarter teaspoon of unprocessed sea salt. There's loads that you can get in South Africa. There's a Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt, Oryx desert salt. Most people have got something like that in their cupboard already. I did on that fateful morning when I watched that little video, and I instantly noticed that I didn't go to the bathroom within 20 minutes. My body was holding the water, and I didn't know the science. I know it now, but I experienced it within a few minutes, and that brain fog that was keeping me in bed lifted on that day. And I remember leaving and being able to function slightly normally. And that was that spark that I talk about. And it started with that.
One small tweak, one small
tiny
choice. And by the way, you're right. We are a literally walking, talking water balloon with an opinion. That's essentially what a human being is.
Absolutely.
60% water.
Yeah.
Everything happens in
Yeah.
water. And so hydration is just, that's the bottom line. Really critical. Sorry, I saw
Absolutely.
your hand go up.
No, I've
Yeah.
just, teacher, I've got a question. So you talk about hydration. And when I think hydration, I think water. What's good water? What's bad water? Can I have the shot
Yeah.
in tap water or is it still water?
I think we want to start where people are at. So if you drink tap water consistently and your body's used to it, let's start there. If you have a water machine at home, obviously use that. And as we go down more in detail, we'll give you a bit more guidance on that. But start where you're at. So the first thing we want to do is just mineralize that water.
Well, let me bring in some science here. So let's not talk water. Let's talk hydration.
Yeah.
Because that's actually
Absolutely,
and hydration is not water, to your point. It's water plus minerals.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the key. Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned salt. So people say, well, why don't I use table salt? Now, table salt is sodium chloride with some cluttering agent. What do they call that?
Anti-caking agents,
anti-caking,
bleaching.
and it's been bleached. But to your point, Himalayan or Oryx or slightly unprocessed salt, it just doesn't have that bleaching, and it has a little more potassium and magnesium and calcium. Essential elements. In fact, you had a great illustration that you shared about electrolytes and minerals. People talk about them as the same thing. There's a little difference.
It is because people interchange minerals, trace minerals, electrolytes, and they all think they're the same thing. They're all different, but it's a little bit like a car. The minerals are like the steel and the wiring and the rubber. Then the trace elements are like the sensors and the microchips making things work. And then the electrolytes are like it's the parts that enable the electric current to go through to make it to move. Now, you don't have one of those, a car doesn't move. So you need them all. And actually, salt has all of those things that it's nature's way of giving you everything you need, because a part of hydration is that we are biochemical, bioelectrical beings. Everything happens via little electric pulses. And without the salt in the water, that just slows down. So often when you got brain fog, is because you're not hydrated with minerals and trace minerals and electrolytes. So stuff doesn't fire like it's supposed to. So it's a very simple thing.
Because for so long, salt
Mm.
has been the bad guy. Why is it now the good guy?
Well, here's the mic drop moment. Salt's not the white stuff that's ruining your life. That's sugar. Okay, we'll talk about that at some other point, or some other white powder that we don't want to talk about. No, you're right. Salt has always been associated with high blood pressure, which actually is not accurate. It's a highly processed diet. So salt is not the enemy. Context is. All right. So if you are sweating like you are, Faf, if you're training, if you're eating low carb, your kidneys get rid of sodium. So you need to replace that. So just drinking straight water is not going to help. You've got to add salt to your water. Sodium chloride, salt, is the lead singer. Potassium, magnesium, calcium, those are the backup singers. If you just have one lead singer and no band, it's chaos. So you kind of need all those elements just to make hydration smart. So that's it.
What mind you being the lead singer, Mark?
Yeah, that voice.
Not a boy band, not my word.
But the interesting thing is in an unprocessed sea salt, something that hasn't been bleached, there's 60 to 80 minerals and trace minerals in it, which is pretty amazing. I know there's a lot of products out there, but there are natural salt from the earth that has all these elements, which enables your body to go through all its chemical processes.
So salt is for everyone, not just for athletes, not just for...
Absolutely not. Because our physiology is all made up the same way. It all needs this. It's like a battery, and in the battery you need these things to conduct electricity.
And let's just put a cap on that. So I would say because we're not dealing with opinions here, we're dealing with science. So 3 to 5 grams of salt a day is the recommended dosage. That's about a teaspoon and a half on average. And if you're eating processed foods, you're getting way more than that. So it's the processed foods that are giving you high blood pressure, not the salt that you're having. If you're eating a wholesome food diet, then you can add salt with absolute pleasure, because that's what your body's asking for.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you can test how hydrated you are by the color of your urine. So if your urine should be like a Chardonnay, pale yellow, that's what you're looking for. Maybe Shannon, But if it's over clear, if it's like water, then you're overdoing hydration. To Sean's point, you're just drinking too much water. If it's dark and yellow and smelly, then your kidneys are sending HR a note to say do something. Okay.
There's that whole adage about have 8 glasses of water a day. I've looked for where that is. The only reference is in like 1945, where it was in some report, but it said that's what you would get from your food and hydration. So it wasn't drink 8 glasses of water. You're actually not helping you out. You're actually dehydrating when you drink like clear water without any minerals in it, because your minerals in your body go into it and go out. So everybody that's being good and drinking all these waters, it's having the opposite effect. So you just have less, but with some mineral salt in there, and then your body's going to work better.
Amazing. So you're right. The science doesn't back up 8 glasses of water. The science today says drink to thirst.
Yeah.
A little more on hotter days, a little more if you're being active.
Exactly.
And
your science is perfect. The color of the urine is actually the only way to tell. If it's clear, you're drinking too much.
Yeah.
So what I've found is doing all these complicated things, and I know we're starting with salt, but I've pretty much done all of these things, and we're going to go through all of them step by step. But what I noticed is that just doing one thing is not going to change everything for you and make that one big change. But just doing all of these little changes and then adding them up easily, and you choose what you want to do. When they add up, it's a little bit like how compound interest works. The more you wait, the more you're patient, the more you invest, the more you'll return. And so what I did is in the water, just the salt was amazing. But then I started to just dive a little bit deep. What else can I add in there that would elevate it into one
Sean, just
drink?
before you get into the additional, can I
Yeah.
just chip in there? Because
Sure.
what you said was so important. We don't want perfection.
Yeah.
We just want better.
Yeah.
More good days will do it.
Absolutely.
Perfection doesn't exist. Huberman is brilliant.
Yeah.
He's about the daily perfect protocol.
Mm.
And that's fine if you've got that sort of mindset. But we're just saying tweak
Yeah.
these things just a little bit better each day. This is what the
Absolutely.
science says. Do that.
Yeah.
And ultimately it will move the needle. So if you don't feel perfect, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
not the intention.
Perfect morning protocol. I mean, I get why they do it, but it intimidates people and it overwhelms people. Sometimes when I have conversations, if you don't give people an easy way to do it, that you just leave them feeling overwhelmed, and then you're actually like robbing them by dangling, a goal and then not telling them how to do it. So I think it's those small changes that you make. And what I want to do is we just want to go through the easiest ones first, and we just bring them up and give you the why, which is obviously why we needed a grown up here, to take us through all these things. But how it's ended up is something that we now call Sean Shooter. My family knows it well, Faf knows it well, and family and friends also know it well. It's essentially a combo. So this is before coffee, guys, because we'll get into that later. I love coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. I do a lot of fasting, and black coffee is my thing. I love it, and we'll go through all the coffee things. But before coffee, the first thing you want to do is get some minerals in. Your body's been going through all these processes at night. It's literally dehydrated. You've been sweating. That you need some hydration. And remember, hydration is not getting water in and through your body. Hydration is getting water in and into your body, into your cells. Your brain is a large part of water. You need to get water in and retain it, and it needs the sodium to pull it into cells. So what we started to do is I started to experiment, and so I do the 1/4 teaspoon. So you just put it in normal water, not freezing cold water. That has different effects in your stomach, and let's just go room temperature water.
Can I say why?
Yeah.
So it's not a train smash.
Mm.
Cold water is not gonna. It's not like don't do cold water.
Yeah.
Warm water is gentler on your stomach. It just means absorption's a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. Cold water, you get what we call vasoconstriction. So your
Yeah.
blood vessels go, this is cold, like you do when
Yeah.
you get into cold water.
Yeah.
Same thing happens in your stomach. So to your point, room temperature, great.
And then basically after you've stirred that in, I add a little bit of lemon. So we have a few lemon trees. You can get, obviously, from any superstore. There are ones that you can squirt in. Just always read the ingredients. If there's a few things on there other than lemon juice, just choose wisely what's out there. Real lemon is always the best. If you buy a lemon, you can cut it into 8 pieces, last you more than a week. So get that lemon in. That's just a little bit for flavor, but it's also alkalinity. It's also a bit of a vitamin C boost, and also just gets your digestion going and like kickstarts.
One of the benefits of lemon and that little bit of vitamin C is actually helps with iron absorption. And although it's minimal, and it just adds to that little bit of making it easier for your body to absorb iron. That's why lemon is great. And I love that you have fresh lemon.
Yeah,
No preservatives, none of that. Just if you can, keep it fresh.
Always try and choose whole foods. We'll get more into that.
Because we get
anything in a bottle.
We get those little.
Yeah, we all grew up with those. People used to put it in their hair when they were younger, going surfing, trying to go blonde.
We have to buy our lemons. We don't have a lemon tree in our home.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Sorry, guys. And rolling on from that, the next ingredient is to get some apple cider vinegar in there. It doesn't need to be apple cider vinegar, and you can tell us now about that magical ingredient. But in the morning, that would be the Sean Shooter. So it's the salt, the lemon, and then some apple cider vinegar. I often don't pour it into a teaspoon. I just have the cap, put 2 caps in a large glass of water. I do 300 to 500 because you want to dilute it. You don't want. I think when apple cider vinegar first came out, everybody was, teaspooning it and then like gagging. And I think people have so just trust me, please try it again. It's going to be worth it. Just put it in a very diluted 500 mils. You barely taste it. It's a slightly sour when it's in 500 mils. And that just helps with your blood sugar regulation, your glucose. It stops you craving things, especially after you have a good breakfast. You don't want to be snacking at 10 o'clock, 11. And I just found that apple cider vinegar just helps with your insulin spikes. It just levels everything out. It's amazing before heavy meals as well, but that is another thing. But in the morning, regulating your blood sugar and your glucose, it's an absolute dream. And you can tell us about the active
Sure,
ingredient in
there's
there.
a lot there, and I need to
Yeah.
unpack.
So
It's clever language that, but I suppose higher glucose blood control, higher insulin spikes.
Yeah, sorry.
Just please explain to me what he was talking about.
So if you're at the crease, you don't want glucose spikes and drops,
Yeah.
because it's concentration, it's all sorts of things. No, and Sean said it. Apple cider vinegar, great,
Yeah.
but the magic ingredient there is acetic acid. All right, and you get acetic acid in straight vinegar. So if you don't have apple cider vinegar, you can use
The
straight
malt
vinegar too,
vinegars
as long
and-
as it's diluted, because
Yeah.
again, straight acid and not
So
wet.
any vinegar.
Any vinegar is fine. What apple cider vinegar gives you over and above standard vinegar, the acetic acid,
Yeah.
two additional things over and above just its acetic acid is polyphenols, which are antioxidative. We can get into that later. And there's a probiotic, especially if it comes with
Yeah.
the mother, that gross-looking thing that floats around that makes
Very
me gag
important.
before I've even tasted apple
Yeah.
cider vinegar.
That's
But-
the one to get.
But the big thing with ACV is two things. Essentially, it slows down your stomach emptying, so it makes you feel fuller for longer, which is great. Think about like a Zempic and all those other one drugs people are injecting. It does the same thing.
Yeah.
And what you said, it reduces the spike of
Mm.
glucose. So what happens in your body when you eat food, any food, healthy food, unhealthy food, your insulin spikes, and so your glucose spikes, and so your insulin spikes in reaction, because your body does everything it can to keep your glucose consistent. All right. So if you can manage that spike, or if you have a spike, insulin gets released. Insulin is an inflammatory hormone. It's a fat storage hormone. You don't want that to happen. And every time your glucose spikes significantly, insulin releases, and you get this spike effect, which is not great. You don't want to live like that. That's your wife through menopause. No, I'm kidding. That's hard good. But you want to be as consistent as possible. And so that's what apple cider vinegar helps you to do, is to keep your sugar consistent. So no spikes, no dips, no sort of, I'm manic, and then I'm just, so I hope that
That sounds like I must take it. You just sold apple
That's a
cider
good one.
vinegar
yeah,
to
just
me.
block your nose. And
Just get it.
Yeah.
So why does it burn the stomach? Because I was part of the, I know it's a healthy thing, have a shot of apple cider vinegar, and I could not stand it because it's burning my stomach so much.
possibly because you didn't dilute it enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Sean said 500 mils a
Yeah.
teaspoon.
So always with water.
Always.
It's funny because I tried this Sean shooter with my family, and now everyone is also doing it in my family. But my dad is proper old school. Like salt water is already a push, right? So now can you imagine
Yes.
a 60-year-old Afrikaans guy from Pretoria slotting back a drink with apple cider vinegar in it? He was
And as he kept doing it, he's like,
He is not a
new for me. Yeah.
Actually, to my surprise, he phoned me and he said, I'm still doing
Wow.
the Sean shooter, but the only thing that I really struggle with is the apple cider vinegar. But to that, can you put a little bit of honey in, maybe for someone that struggles with the taste of it, just to make it taste better?
You can. Remember, honey is glucose. There's still sugar in that. And if you're fasting, which I hope many of us are doing, that would break a fast. So Sean's shooter, as it is, doesn't break a fast.
All these things are up to you to choose what you want to do. If you don't want to put in the apple cider vinegar, don't do it. Just add the salt. Try it with the lemon. Do your own thing. Find your own way. Even people in my family, my wife included, has stopped doing the apple cider vinegar. She just, after a while, she just said, "I'm good." And that's fine. I'll do it. The boys do it, and we just carry on from there. So you just find what works for you. And in fact, that's going to be a theme you're going to hear a lot. Like, we're going to say things, you're going to have to choose what you want to do, what you don't want to do. This is not a step 1 to 10 and you have to go through everything in perfect order to get there. This is about hearing things that trigger for you the same way it triggered for me, and then adding on these little small things together. But there's one more. Adding some creatine monohydrate to this Sean shooter, I think, just elevates it into a level up. Now, again, this is something that you would probably have to buy if you don't have it, but it is highly, highly recommended. I'm going to leave the physiology and stuff to you because creatine has exploded. It's been around forever. I remember hearing about it when I was 18 and people thought it was steroids and people were putting on muscle. All the first team rugby guys were like creating.
Jumbros.
And now like 1,000 studies later, like the pennies drop. Like this is like an essential for life, supplement to take. So I take it absolutely every morning. I ask my family to do it, and I recommend it to everyone. This is for young, for old. And Mike, maybe you can give us a few minutes on creatine.
To what you were saying, it is probably the most studied supplement. It is safe, and it is really effective. It's not a vanity supplement for gym bros. It now has jumped that fence, and it's for everyone. What happens in your body? A little chemical reaction. One phosphate gets removed, so now you've got adenosine diphosphate, 2 phosphates, and energy is released. That's how your body runs. That's the
It's
battery.
the unit of energy. Yeah.
What creatine does is it basically grabs that phosphate that's been removed. It gives it back to the body and helps the body to recycle adenosine triphosphate quicker. So it's not only good for muscle energy, it's good for brain energy and focus. It essentially is a mitochondrial supplement. So your mitochondria is the energy factory that produces ATP, and creatine basically supports your mitochondria. That's why it's a supplement for everybody.
I've heard that actually. A lot of people talks about it's got benefits for different things, right? So brain health, bone health. But is there
What he said.
an amount
Yeah.
that gets to these, or is it 3 to 5 milligram for all of those things?
So 3 to 5 grams. In fact, I've got a grams there because it is grams. Yeah. So 3 to 5 grams. I'd say at the very most, 10 grams.
Really?
All right. Yeah. Any more than that, because remember,
Because
draws.
people talk about 15 grams was good for brain health, 20 grams if you've got brain fog. And so is there a unhealthy amount to take that's dangerous? To just throw in another question.
Yeah, that's true. And I probably need to go back on the science to that. But for me, from what I've read, 10 grams is the upper limit. Any more than that, you're possibly messing with hydration because you need fluid, you need water with creatine. You can't dry dose. I dry dose because it spoils the drink that I'm taking, but then I follow that with fluid. It needs water.
Why does it need water?
Well, because it's drawing water into your muscles. So if you're not adding water to allow it to draw into your muscles, it's drawing muscle from interstitial fluid.
Sure.
So you're almost dehydrating yourself if you're taking creatine without additional.
I mean, you can watch different podcasts and there'll be somebody saying the mega dose, 20 grams is the best thing ever. Then somebody, don't do more than 5, you're going to bloat. You're just going to have to find what works for you if you stick within those. The one thing I did learn by watching all these is that I generally take 5 for myself. If I go more, I do feel like I get a little bit puffy and a little bit, but that's for me, my body. But the one thing that I did see that does really seem to work is if you have a terrible night's sleep, and like you're traveling, you're going overseas, or you've got a big day and you just haven't slept for whatever reason, then you can up your dose between 10 and 15, and it should restore your cognitive power back to like a normal day. I mean, your brain uses 20% of your body's energy. I mean, your brain uses as much energy as your quads, so although you think there's not much happening there, so think of creatine as powering all these energy heavy usage systems, and your brain is one of them. So we all thought that creatine was for biceps, but it's actually for brain power as much as anything else.
All we've talked about, what's the one thing you'd like our listeners to remember, like the tweet or the post-it note or the sort of one-liner?
I think of hydration as an athlete because I sweat a lot. So I understand the importance of salt a little bit better now. Electrolyte salt, as long as I'm getting that into my body, really good thing. I've always thought of just drinking water, but now I understand it's just going through me. So I need to add a little bit of salt.
Brilliant. I would say hydration for your body is like a Wi-Fi signal for your phone. If the signal drops, everything buffers.
Yeah. And Michael, I think my one takeaway line there as well is hydration is the foundation of every biohack. So everything that we're going to do, unless you're well hydrated, it's not going to work because they can't fully work with it unless that's in place. So why don't you join us on this journey? If a fat boy like me can do it, I'm pretty sure you can do it as well. We're going to give you some practical tips to make small little changes in your life, put them on top of each other and we can make one big change, because it all adds up to having more good days. So join us, like, subscribe, do all those things, and we're going to take you on a bit of an adventure. It's going to be fun. Sean Shooter, remember it's got 5 ingredients. We need to get the water, creatine, apple cider vinegar, lemon, and most important, unprocessed natural sea salt. So what we want to do there is you're either going to get Celtic sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, Oryx salt, any of those will do. You need all those minerals so that your body can get properly hydrated. So you want to do a 1/4 teaspoon in there, and then we're going to do 5 milligrams of creatine. We're going to get 2 cupfuls of apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is perfect for regulating your blood sugar and your glucose. Creatine, it just gives you a bunch of energy for your muscles and for your cognitive support. And then we're going to finish it off with a little bit of alkalinity and vitamin C in a squeeze of lemon, which gives you some great hydration and starts your digestion. So this is how I make it for my family. We just mix it all up like that, and you would just drink that in one proper go. But what we want to do is have a bit more fun.
We're going to do it old school style, like we did back when we were a bit younger.
Yeah, less responsibilities.
There's your healthy shot that goes into the water.
Yeah,
You can pour that in.
apple cider
Pour that
vinegar.
in for you.
Get one with the mother.
Do some creatine first.
Creatine.
Okay, so we've added the apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
We've added the creatine. Now we're going to do it
Now.
old school style. Lick it up there.
Remember this from
A
university.
little bit there, a little bit there.
There we go.
Cheers, buddy.
After you, buddy. Go.